nigga like me, man, I love the game. I love the hustle, man.
Yo, what's up, Jazzy TV? I'm here with Jeff Peterson.
How you doing?
What's up, man? How's your day been so far?
Been good. Yep. Just hanging out at home. Work's been a little slow, so just hung out with the dogs at home today.
So I want to tell people a little bit about yourself. What is it you do?
So like I said, my name is Jeffrey Peterson. I'm 34 years old from Grand Terrace, California, and by day I'm a roofing contractor, and on the weekends I'm a semi-professional stock car driver.
So when did you first start taking racing seriously? What made you want to get into it? What was your big influence?
So my biggest influence was obviously my dad, and he raced ever since I was born. I mean, I grew up at the racetrack. I remember going to Irwindale Speedway when I was still in a stroller, and we'd have to get there early, and my mom would actually set the stroller up on the stands, turn the front wheel sideways, so we'd put the stroller in the bleachers. So I grew up around racing. Got my first go-kart when I was 7 years old, and really only ran a handful of go-kart races out at Rialto Airport on an oval track they had there, and then didn't really race anything again for quite a few years. I raced online and stuff with a bunch of friends, and then when I was 17 years old, my dad got me at the time they were called King Taco Super Trucks out at Irwindale, and I started racing those when I was 17, and been racing pretty much non-stop ever since.
So when you were a kid, did your dad ever take you in the car with him out doing laps, or?
No, I was actually really disappointed one day. We were up at Willow Springs. He was racing the Mechanics for Speed Truck series at the time, and they had a two-seat truck, and I was actually supposed to get a ride along with my dad around Willow Springs, and for whatever reason, I mean, this was 25 years ago now, I forget why, but they cut the ride along short, and I was like two people from the next in line to do the ride along, so I never got the chance to ride with them.
So what was your first official race that you did?
My first official race, I was about probably 8 years old. I ran a go-kart at Rialto Airport, and it was actually kind of a funny story. I was just a real small kid. I really didn't grow until I was about 20 years old. And I looked like a jack-in-the-box going around. My big helmet, you barely even see my body over the seat of this go-kart. But something happened in practice where I came in and something was wrong, and my dad sent me back out there. Well, then in the race, I come back in, and he goes, "Oh, what is it now?" He was kind of upset and everything. Well, there was actually a leak in the fuel tank, and it saturated my legs and my groin area with gasoline. And as an 8-year-old kid, I mean, it burnt my legs pretty good. So my dad felt bad, and they rushed me home and gave me a bath and stuff, and just, yeah, my legs were just bright red and real chafed and everything. So kind of a funny story. We look back on it now and kind of laugh about it, because yeah, I was just a real small kid and really not the toughest kid. So when I pulled off the track, he goes, "Oh man, what's the problem now?" Kind of got irritated a little bit until I realized. But that was my first official race, and then, like I said, I only ran a handful of go-kart races. When I was about 10 years old, I actually won my first race out at Rialto Airport on the oval as well.
Were these pre-built, or you were building the carts yourself?
No, so it's a pre-built, is what they call the bug chassis, and it was just a brand new go-kart. It had an 80cc Comer motor on it. Actually, one of my dad's really good friends that worked on his super late models back in the day actually helped build the cart and kind of put it together. They got a chassis, and then they did all the final build on it and stuff. But it is all pre-built parts for the cart, and they just put it together themselves.
So what would you say is your main go-to type of car to race? Like muscle car, you GDM, or late models?
Yeah, late models is what I run on a weekly basis. Racing Cars Tour West, the Limited Pro late models. It's a full tube chassis, straight rail car. So actually, if you look at the chassis of the car, if you look down the right side, it doesn't kind of kick out like a normal passenger car would. The frame is actually straight from the right front corner car all the way back. That's just to help offset the weight to the left, help them go around. They're built specifically for ovals. So that's my go-to race car. That's really all I've ran in the recent years. I'd say street car and stuff, I'm kind of partial to like 69 Camaros, really like those. My dad's had a few throughout the years and has gotten rid of all of them, and so But I really love the look of a 69 Camaro. As far as the street car goes, yeah, not really much of a JDM guy. I have a great deal of respect for it, just not really my style.
So what is it that attracted you to the late models and the super late models?
So what actually got me running late models was a good friend of mine he's basically like a second father to me, Clay Wooster. He's been a late model car owner for many years. My dad actually raced for him back in the 80s. And when I was racing the trucks, like I said, I started racing trucks when I was 17 out of Irwindale. And actually at my 18th birthday party, Clay and his wife Julie came up to me and said, "Hey, happy birthday. For your birthday, we want to put you in one of our cars out of Irwindale."
That's cool.
And that was kind of my birthday present from Clay, was I got to race his late model out of Irwindale in 2009 when I was 18 years old. And so that's what I got started with. And I ran for Clay off and on for 15, 16 years now. Took a couple year break kind of right in the middle. And then we got joined back up together in, I want to say 2015. Been racing together pretty much nonstop since.
So would you consider something like that as a sponsorship?
Definitely, yeah. So Clay owns Tri-City Towing. Clay pays for the cars, pays for maintenance, the tires, things of that sort. Anything that any sort of outside sponsors or myself don't come up with, Clay actually pays for it. And like I said, he's like a second father to me. When I was a kid, kids weren't allowed in the pit areas at the racetrack. So I'd actually go to his house during the day, and his wife Julie would babysit me during the day and then take me to the races at night with my mom. And I've just grown up around Clay and Julie, and so like I said, they're basically like a second set of parents to me. Yeah, he's treated me extremely well. I'll be forever grateful for everything that Clay's done, and the amount of money that Clay has put into it, just for a hobby. I mean, we're not going cup racing or anything like that. It's just we go out there and have fun, and we've been able to do a lot of really cool things together.
So as far as you saying kids not being allowed in the pit, seeing kids now actually racing full-on cars that we have like in Irwindale, what's your reaction to that? Like,
I think it's great.
How have things changed, like, in your eyes?
Yeah, they definitely changed a lot. When I was younger, you had to be 16 years old to get in the pits. So even when my dad was on the tail end of his full-time career racing trucks at Irwindale, I still wasn't old enough to go in the pit area. And it really sucks in a sense that, I mean, that was my life. All I ever wanted to be was a race car driver. So when they go out to the races, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there to help, hang out. So it was unfortunate, but at the same time, I get why. The pits can be an extremely dangerous place. Now, I mean, you can have newborn babies in the pit area.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I'd say 99% of the kids that are in the pits now, they get it, they understand, they respect the cars. But there is still kind of a danger aspect to it. Sometimes kids don't have the greatest judgment. Sometimes they'll be out there throwing the football and running back and forth in the pits, and that's really not the best place for it. So you got to kind of be a little more on your toes than in years past. But I think it's great. I wish that they would have done that a long time ago when I was a kid, where I could be more involved as a young kid growing up. Yeah, and as far as seeing these kids race now, I mean, you got a junior late models where at 10 years old, you can race the same full-size stock car that I'm driving. It's pretty crazy to me, but it's cool at the same time. These kids they're learning what it takes. They're learning, hopefully, the respect that it takes to run a 3,000-pound stock car. But they are still kids at the end of the day. They make mistakes. Even as adults, we make stupid mistakes every once in a while. It happens. It's part of life. But I think it's really cool and helps kind of bring the families in, bring them together, and just make it kind of a fun place to go get away.
So on the topic of safety, how do you train? How do you get yourself prepped for a race coming up? How do you get right to the right mindset?
I'm very simple in the fact that I don't really do a whole lot. Like I said, I've grown up around it. I've raced online for many years. Basically, once I was old enough to figure out how to get a computer connected to the internet, I've been racing online. So a lot of it goes into that, as far as kind of the mental aspect of it. You kind of just get the repetitiveness, get into a rhythm. You you can work on your racecraft on online racing, and just based on how you're racing around other cars. But as far as that, I mean, I don't do a whole lot of prep. On race days, I'm usually a little bit different, and what I mean by that is sometimes I will be like a social butterfly. I'm running around talking to all my friends. I mean, all my friends are from the races. That's where I grew up. That's everybody that I know. We all have the same interests. So it's a good place to go see my friends, and throughout the day I'll be bouncing around, hanging out with everybody. And there's other days where I just want to kind of sit there in silence and not have any outside distractions or anything like that. But that's about it. When we get into the hotter months and stuff, usually all week I'll start hydrating early with Pedialytes early in the week, just to prepare for a hot weekend out in the sun. But other than that, I mean, there's not a whole lot that I do different outside of my normal life.
So on top of obviously the adrenaline when you're driving, how hot does it get with the suit, the helmet, and your just emotions going? How hot would you say?
I'd say we probably get up in the range about 130 degrees inside the car sometimes. But yeah, it gets pretty hot. I've done certain things with air ducts inside the car to help circulate air around my feet. My feet are real susceptible to heat. I burn my feet more times than I can count in a race car. So I have air ducts that go down in the foot box to help kind of just circulate air, but all it's doing is circulating outside air. So I mean, if it's 110 degrees outside, I have 110 degree air blowing in my feet. But at least it's something to kind of circulate air. One thing that I do to help with the heat though is I have a hose that hooks up to the top of my helmet. Same thing though, it just blows in outside ambient air. So it's 100 degrees outside, you got 100 degrees blowing in your head, it's just a hot fan. But I do wear what's called a cool shirt, and it's basically a t-shirt with a bunch of hoses sewn into it, and it hooks up to an ice box that pumps cold water through it, so it'll help keep my core temperature lower, and I wear that thing religiously. Even when we race at Havasu in the wintertime, if it's 50 degrees outside, I still put it in the car whether I turn it on or not. I'd rather have it and not need it than not have it and want it and get real hot in the car. So that is a couple things I do to help combat the heat, but yeah, it gets miserably hot in the car sometimes.
So how do you feel about a lot of the local tracks kind of shutting down and Irwindale's last day? How did that affect you personally?
It's terrible. Even now, like, it hurts. Almost a year later. I grew up out of Irwindale. I was out there on opening night. My dad raced out there for many years. That's where I grew up. All of my friends and family, I call them my family, but they're just really close friends. We all met racing out of Irwindale or Orange Show. Thankfully, Orange Show is still around, but yeah, with Irwindale shutting down, it really hurts. I was actually out there meeting a friend of mine a couple weeks ago and saw the progress of the demolition out there, and it's just terrible. I hate it. And same thing with Fontana going away. They keep saying they're going to build something back. I really hope they do. But in the meantime, I mean, we don't really have any short tracks in Southern California anymore other than Orange Show. And then you go to Bakersfield, which is about 2 hours north. But that's a long ways for a lot of people that are Irwindale regulars or Orange Show regulars.
Out of all of the races that you've done, what's one you'd say sticks out to you the most?
Man, that's tough. There's so many, and I don't really have a great memory. I'd say the one that kind of sticks out the most, and it's because I did something extremely stupid, was close to 10 years ago now, there was a $5,000 to win race at Orange Show, and I was running second to Lenny White, who is actually now my crew chief and teammate with Clay Rooster. And Lenny was leading the race, and coming to the white flag, I gave him the bumper coming off of turn 4 and moving him out of the way, and he was actually able to drive it in on the outside of another car going into turn 1 and still get into my rear bumper from the outside lane when I'm on the bottom, and moved me up the racetrack. And coming off of turn 2, my spotter said, "Get down now, there's a hole." And I just cranked the wheel hard left, and next thing I knew, I was pointed at the infield. And I'm down the infield where all the dirt and debris is and stuff, and going in turn 3, I was like, well, let's kind of see what happens. And as soon as I touched the brake, the car just jumped sideways, had zero grip at all, slid up the racetrack, knocked another car out of the way, Came across the line to finish second, actually, behind Lenny White. And then both of us actually got disqualified after the race for being too wide on track work. So that's probably one that sticks out the most. I hear about it all the time. Everyone talking about me cutting the racetrack. And that's one that just sticks out because of a stupid mistake I did, but we look back on it now and it's just, we all joke about it. It's kind of a funny story. It's a funny video to watch as well, because it looks like I was actually aiming to try and crash Lenny, which I would never do. Lenny is a lot bigger guy than I am, and he's a fighter, and I'm a lot smarter than that. But other than that, probably my biggest one that sticks out would probably be the final race at Irwindale, winning that one. Throughout the race, I don't remember a whole lot of the race other than I was running side by side with Dean Thompson for quite a bit of it, battling for the lead. But to win that final race and just the emotion that came over me after that, knowing that was the last ever race on that track, it really hurt, really made me kind of tear up. But it's something that I'll cherish forever. I actually took the door off the race car and hung it in my garage, signed it on there that it was the final Irwindale race, the last win out there. So that's something that I'll cherish forever. But yeah, it's like I said, the race itself doesn't really stick out a whole lot. It was more that entire weekend and that moment. Yeah.
So I know you mentioned your sponsor earlier, but do you do any like tuning or any like work on the car yourself, or is it all mainly?
A little bit. So Lenny White works in the shop full time throughout the week. He's the one that usually, him and Clay do most of the maintenance, the setup work, things of that sort. Every once in a while when I have free time, I'll go down to the shop, help him out a little bit here and there. Same with the winter at the track. If any changes need to be made, I'll get under there and help with some of the changes. But for the most part, it's Lenny White's turn to most of the wrenches. We also have Josh Ferguson on our team, who he works his tail off on both my car and Lenny's every weekend. I've never seen a harder working guy at the racetrack, so he turns a lot of the wrenches on it. The most work that I really do is when my wife is racing. I'll work on her car mostly. It's usually myself and her dad are the only crew there, so I'll be making a lot of changes on her car. Even when Ling's not there though, I'll give him a call and kind of shoot some ideas off of him, let him know what I'm thinking as far as adjustments and stuff, and he'll tell me, yeah, it's a good way to go, or kind of give me another idea of something to try. But when it comes to my car, it's usually Lenny, Clay, and Josh are the ones doing most of the work.
So if a 16-year-old came up to you right now and said they wanted to join racing, what advice would you give them?
I hope you have a rich dad. So that's one thing about racing now is when I started racing, everybody owned their own equipment. Everyone ran their own stuff. You kept it at your house. Nowadays, it seems like that's kind of shifted in everything from go-karts and legend cars all the way up to the Cup Series. It's a lot more pay-to-play now than it used to be. I've been very fortunate to grow up with Clay taking care of me, and he never asked for money. I always try and help out with pit passes and entry fees and travel expenses, things of that sort. But he doesn't charge me anything to run the car. Nowadays, like if you rented out a late model, you're looking at the range of about, depending on the race, anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 a weekend. So it's just, in order to get involved in racing now, it's a lot different than it used to be. Everything's a lot more technical. When we used to set up the cars, we'd throw them on scales, and we were never running on bump stops or anything like that. And me and my dad would be able to do it on our own in the garage. Now looking at it, how everything is done, and with the bumps and things of that sort, it's just, you almost have to have an engineering degree to work on these things to be competitive. So if you're just starting to get into racing, I would, depending on how old you are, if you're 16 years old, I'd recommend getting into a legend car. And I would go rent a car from a well-known, reputable person like a Donnie Sheenowers or Ricky Schlick or Peyton Saxton, who they've been around the area for 20 plus years running legend cars. They know their stuff. They can help you as far as getting the car to the racetrack, having it readily available, as well as helping you driver coaching wise and stuff, especially if you're a new kid coming in. But like I said, it's all pay to play. That's their full-time jobs. They're in it to make money, so it's not cheap. But that's the route that I would go. And a lot of kids nowadays, they're getting in it to kind of work their way up. Everyone wants to go higher and higher and get up a level. And so people are usually spending like 1 or 2 years in legend cars, and then they run a year in a late model, then they go ARCA racing, and everyone's trying to fast track to the top. And if that's the way you can do it, and that's the way you can afford to, then I would just rent a car from somebody, and that way, when that season's done, you're not stuck with the race car in your garage that you got to sell or kind of work around. But yeah, it's definitely not a cheap sport. But yeah, if you're looking to go straight into driving, I would look at legend cars, or even just get with a local team and go help out on the weekends. Whether it's just helping push the car at the start or sweeping up around, whatever it may be. That way, at least you start learning the aspects of what it takes to go racing.
So when you're out there on the track, what would you say is a good way to stand out to sponsors and get noticed as a new racer?
Just be yourself, but you gotta be politically correct at the same time. You gotta keep your emotions in check. But just go out there and run hard, run clean, try and keep the thing in one piece, where that way at the end of the race you're running up front. That way people will be more susceptible to sponsor you. Just go to local businesses. It really helps if you know people involved with the local businesses, and explain to them that, hey, you can use your sponsorship dollars as not only advertisement, but as well as tax write-offs. So that's one thing I do with my roofing company that I own, is we have our names on the car, and I pay for like the entry fees, the pit passes and stuff, and I use that as tax write-offs. Any business can do that, but you just gotta make sure you keep your emotions in check. You gotta be a good face for the sponsor. People aren't gonna want someone out there that's hot-headed, yelling at everybody every weekend, getting involved with fights or crashing, and kind of stay away from the drama if at all possible.
So where can some fans catch you out recently? I know some upcoming races.
Yeah, so actually this weekend, Saturday, September the 20th, we'll be racing at Kevin Harvick's Kart Raceway in Bakersfield. We have twin 40 flat paint events in the late model up there. And then beyond that, we're running Las Vegas Bull Ring with the Cars Tour on October 10th. It's the same weekend that the Cup Cars are there in Vegas. So we'll race on Friday night. And then we have 2 races with the Cars Tour at Kern. One at the end of October, I believe, and the other one beginning of November. Right now, that's really all we have planned at the moment, but I mean, we weren't planning on going to Kern this weekend until last Friday. Tim Huddleston that runs Kern Raceway came up to us and said, hey, we're putting a race on the schedule. What will it take to get you guys up there? So we decided we're going to take actually the car that I ran 2 years ago, and Lenny White raced it last weekend at Orange Show in the Cars Tour race. I'm going to drive that one up at Kern. We're going to try and get that car a little bit better. Try and get it back to where it needs to be setup-wise to run up front. But yeah, our schedule's not really ever set in stone. Sometimes, like I said, a week in advance we'll decide, hey, we're going to go race here. You can follow along with Jeffrey Peterson on Facebook, as well as Jeffrey Peterson Racing on Instagram. And I try and keep it updated the best that I can. My wife helps me out with that as well, helping keep fans involved, potential sponsors, anybody that wants to follow along with our racing, so you can see where we're racing. And then throughout the weekend, we'll also post updates of what's going on live time at the racetrack.
All right, man. Well, really appreciate your time. Any shout-outs you want to say? Anything else to the fans?
Yeah, just I really got to thank, like I said, Clay Booster. He's been an integral part to my career, like a second dad to me, and I'll forever be grateful to him. My wife Kaylee for always supporting me. My parents, Lenny White for always doing all the great setup work on it, making us look really good. And then my sponsors, Tri-City Towing, Inland Empire Roofing, Loftus and William J. Davidson, Apache Rental Group, War Shocks, CRF Chassis. And yeah, I'm sure I'm forgetting some people. But yeah, and I want to thank all the fans. Without the fans, it wouldn't be possible for us to do what we do. And I hope to see some of you guys up at Kevin Harvick's Kart Raceway in the next couple months, whether you can make it this weekend for the weekly show or later this year for the Cars Tour, or even out at the Bull Ring. Come out, we're racing Friday night, and then you'll have the Xfinity race Saturday at the big track, as well as the Cup Series So hopefully see some fans out there. Without you guys, it wouldn't be possible.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.